the Pentagon's new nuclear rocket. You'd think we'd worked out pretty much every conceivable, useful method for sending a rocket into space and circling around the Earth and out among the stars. Humans first ventured into space more than 50 years ago, first simply traveling about the planet Earth before landing on the Moon. Isn't it true that we've mastered the art of space travel? So for today's video, let's unveil the Pentagon's new nuclear rocket. But before we get into it, do me a favor and smash the like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell button for notifications whenever a new video is published. It's background context. Even though we have gone a long way, we still have a long way to go. The vehicles used to go across space are one area where continuous progress may be accomplished. When it comes to producing incredible feats of space engineering, NASA and other space organizations and businesses should always aim for the stars, figuratively. What would we be like today if automobile firms didn't desire to create cars that were quicker, better, more powerful, and more efficient? The most significant industries should always strive to improve. That's precisely what's going on right now with the current batch of interstellar spacecraft under development. When it comes to how we travel among the stars, certain businesses are really breaking new ground. Elon Musk's SpaceX, Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin, and companies like Virgin Galactic and Relativity Space are all revolutionizing the way spacecraft are constructed and flown. Relativity is even using 3D printers to make its vessels. However, the next step in space flight may include a topic that makes some people very uncomfortable: nuclear power. True, nuclear power has the potential to drive a new generation of rockets far beyond the reach of our planet, just as it has lit the homes of millions of people on Earth. Because the physics underlying it is so promising, the U.S. military is investigating nuclear-powered spaceflight. So, what is it about this technique that makes it so amazing and worthwhile? When will we see our first spacecraft fueled by nuclear weapons? What's with Pentagon? The Pentagon is the United States Department of Defense's headquarters building. The structure was planned by American architect George Bergstrom and constructed by builder John McShain in Arlington County, Virginia, across the Potomac River from Washington, D.C. The foundation was laid on September 11, 1941, and the structure was inaugurated on January 15, 1943. Colonel Leslie Groves was in charge of supervising the project for the U.S. Army, while General Brehan Somerville was the driving force behind it. With about 6.5 million square feet of floor area, of which 3.7 million square feet are utilized as offices, the Pentagon is the world's biggest office complex. The Pentagon employs 23,000 military and civilian workers, as well as 3,000 non-defense support people. It has 5 sides, 5 above-ground stories, 2 underground levels, and 5 ring corridors per story, totaling 17.5 kilometers of corridors. On the assumption that it would be a major target in a nuclear war, the central 5-acre pentagonal plaza was dubbed Ground Zero. Before the Pentagon was constructed, the U.S. Department of War was housed in the Munitions Building, a makeshift building built along Constitution Avenue on the National Mall during World War I. Additional temporary structures on the National Mall, as well as dozens of other buildings in Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia, housed the War Department, a civilian organization established to manage the United States Army. When World War II broke out in Europe, the War Department grew quickly in anticipation of the U.S. being pulled into the war. The situation was intolerable for Secretary of War Henry L. Stimson, who found the munitions building overcrowded and the department disorganized. Preparations at the Pentagon. The Pentagon aims to expand the range of its satellites to the Moon by tens of thousands of kilometers. To do so, it is developing a high-tech, atomic-powered, nuclear thermal propulsion engine. The military's aim is to send maneuverable satellites into the enormous region between the Earth and the Moon, known as cislunar space, before China sends its own spacecraft there. However, this isn't the first time the United States has attempted to build an atomic rocket, and there's no assurance that the same issues that derailed past attempts won't do the same with this one. Mining the Moon for minerals that might fund deep space missions, including humanity's first journey to Mars, is a priority for the U.S. and Chinese space agencies, as well as commercial companies. DARPA's budget proposal for 2021, which was published in early February, requests $21 million for the Draco initiative, which stands for Demonstration Rocket for Agile Cislunar Operations. In 2020, Congress allocated $10 million to DARPA to begin research on the Draco engine. The funding for 2021 would enable the agency to begin constructing components. DARPA intends to put Draco through its paces before turning it over to the U.S. Air Force for regular operations. The military's nuclear thermal propulsion effort is almost identical to a NASA program that began a few years ago. Draco is a high-assay, low-enriched uranium nuclear thermal propulsion system, according to scientists. It's essentially a tiny nuclear reactor mounted atop a space rocket. The reactor heats a propellant, for example, hydrogen, which accelerates through a nozzle and propels the satellite in the opposite direction. Nuclear thermal engines can't be launched from the surface of the Earth. They're designed for long-distance travel into space, or a lot of maneuvering, while staying close to Earth. In 2019, Beijing sent humanity's first probe to the Moon's difficult-to-reach far side, which is constantly facing away from Earth. However, China's space agency is planning follow-up moon missions, with human explorers arriving on the lunar surface as early as the mid-2020s. Meanwhile, NASA has attempted to speed up a possibly $30 billion proposal to construct a new manned outpost in cislunar orbit at the request of President Donald Trump. It would serve as a staging area for American astronauts to return to the Moon by 2024, Trump's projected last full year in office. America's next moon mission may be aided by atomic rockets. They launch the reactor's components into Earth orbit on top of conventional chemical rockets, then assemble them as they speed around the globe at thousands of miles per hour. When attached to a space capsule, spy satellite, or orbital weapon, the nuclear motor might traverse vast distances in years or even decades. The Earth is 240,000 miles away from the Moon. The majority of man-made satellites are just a few thousand miles from the Earth's surface. Both the United States and China are scrambling to fill that void. Early American attempts to develop a nuclear thermal propulsion system in the 1960s and 1970s were driven by long-distance possibilities. When President Richard Nixon suddenly terminated a number of rocket projects in order to concentrate NASA on apparently less ambitious goals, the space agency was moving in the right direction. Draco's technology may be utilized in the civilian space industry if it succeeds. NTP, according to NASA, may reduce the overall length of Mars missions by half. Draco would thus follow in the footsteps of a long line of DARPA innovations, such as the Internet and RNA-based vaccinations, which began as military research and development projects before going on to benefit the whole globe. In 1972, during the last U.S. Apollo mission, a human adventurer stepped foot on the Moon for the last time. The present moon race, NASA believes, will lead to a sustainable long-term human presence on or above the lunar surface. To DARPA, this entails the development of an atomic rocket. The agency will undoubtedly hope that this time it succeeds in completing the project. The Pentagon wants to be the first to arrive, with satellites that can monitor whatever comes next. Have you ever heard of this before? Do you like watching these kinds of videos on our channel? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Before leaving, don't forget to subscribe, and hit the bell button for notifications of our future content. With that being said, see you in the next one.